I'm Jeff Serdy. I'm Pinal County Supervisor for District 5, which takes in Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, Peralta, and up against the Goldfield Mountains and the northern part of Santan Valley. I was born and grew up in what we'd call Appalachia, southeastern Ohio. And everybody says, well, what city are you from? And I'm not from a city. Well, what town? I'm not from a town. People just live, the homesteaders, every 160 or every 80 acres. And so you had to drive like 10 minutes to get to a little town. People just lived out rural. And it was a strip mine coal area. You were either a coal miner or you worked in the gas and oil industry, which is what I went into. I worked for a local gas company, which led me to get a job in production of the wells that were drilled in oil and gas. But I spent a lot of years in my truck by myself, just listening to the radio, and which is probably where I got my political start, is by monitoring the news and monitoring talk radio. And like a lot of people, you're born as a Democrat until you realize that really I wasn't a Democrat. When Jimmy Carter was in there, and why is interest 15%, and why are we doing this? Why are they taking our hostages? Why don't we do something about it? And then Ronald Reagan came along, and whoa, that's the way it's supposed to be done. And everything, you felt good about yourself. And I realized I wasn't a Democrat, I was a Republican. I was very fast when I peaked. I don't even tell people, but I could actually run a 4.240. I grew up hunting and trapping, and actually came out here to trap. And in the 1980s, every job I've ever had, I've had to produce. I had to produce my wells. I had to produce while trapping. You had to get the deliveries done and sell. And the same way with, I'm now a retailer now. And unless you sell every day, you don't make any money. I sell firearms. I had a gun shop, privately owned, competing against the Walmarts and the Bass Pros, but the mom and pop shops can do well if you do it right. But I had some police officers from the city of Apache Junction come to me. You won't believe what we just had to do. We packed up 2,500 firearms, drove them to a smelter in Miami and melted them. I said, why? I said, well, that was a decision that was made. And I thought, what a waste, and the city council wasn't even aware of this. So I kind of became a whistleblower, and I said, hey, do you realize that you just did this? And I mean, that was enough money that if those were sold in an auction, and what these were is they were guns that had been seized over like a 20-year period, and they were just in storage. So yes, something needed to be done. And then one other issue, when the city council turned down a hotel, because I'm still trying to get hotels and resorts out here. And so I came and I spoke about, with the need for hotels and tourism. And people started saying, well, Mr. Serdy, you need to run for city council. And I said, I can't do that, because I was very bashful. I mean, 20 years ago, I couldn't have even sat and talked like I do now. And so I ran and I won. And I lost an election since. I think I won like 6 or 7, but I got elected to council again. I really had no intention of being mayor, and the previous mayor he was an okay guy, but you just saw things that weren't being done. And I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we go for that? So I ran for mayor, and I think I changed the culture and the perception of Apache Junction, making the mayor's office reachable, and changing the reputation of Apache Junction by beautification and tourism type projects. And I think I made a difference. So then after being mayor, I promised only to run for 2 terms. I believe in term limits. It's kind of the same way with the supervisor. I mean, my predecessor was doing a good job, but I just saw a different direction we could go. Why aren't we doing this? Why isn't this office reachable? And I am trying to raise the communication level. A lot of folks don't even know that this office is here. I've already had an open house where we invited people to come see that we do have an office here in the Apache Junction area. So we're at the county complex right here, which is basically Superstition in Idaho. Everybody knows this complex as being where motor vehicles is. Over there is a very important one because that's where you would get permits and also pay your taxes over at Building 800. But my office is right here, and you'll see it right there on the board. The Justice of the Peace office is there. Adult probation is here. So if you need to come see myself or my staff, you'd come right in here. The front door is around there. So this is basically where we are. A lot of people don't realize they have an office here. They think the office is only in Florence, but we're very reachable, very accessible right here in Apache Junction and Gold Canyon. And perhaps we can't solve your problem with the county, but we can direct you on where to go. I'm trying to up the game in District 5. That's another thing that frustrated me, was all these cool things happening in the county, but it's all Coolidge and Casa Grande. Okay, what about us? What about District 5? We've got so much to offer out here. Why aren't we talking about tourism? Where are the jobs out here? Because a lot of these folks, I had to do it myself. I had to drive all the way to Phoenix to work in food distribution. Roads, especially District 5, we're behind the curve on roads. To go to the eastern part of my district, everything goes out Highway 60. I am working on a plan to get a surface street punch through out there. That's a must. The same way to go to the south, to go to Santan Valley, everything goes down Ironwood. So you got two major roads. It's not enough. We need more access roads. We need them widened. The 24 is happening right now. It's if you go down Ironwood, you can see where the 24 is tying in. So that's going to relieve Santan Valley a lot. But we need the north-south interconnect, which was approved by voters years ago and it got tied up in litigation. We really need that to happen. That's going to relieve this whole area. I hope that in a few years of me being here that people are going to think differently about District 5.